Walk through any struggling backyard garden in late July, and you'll see the same story everywhere: yellowing leaves, stunted tomatoes, lettuce that bolted weeks too early, and a gardener wondering what they did wrong when they watered on schedule and bought the expensive fertilizer the store recommended. Now picture a completely different garden, same climate, same rainfall, sometimes even the same street, where plants are doubling in size compared to their neighbors, producing fruit weeks earlier, and shrugging off the same drought that's killing everything 2 yards over. The difference almost never comes down to seeds, sunlight, or even watering schedule. It comes down to 3 specific things happening in the soil before a single seed ever goes into the ground, a sequence that traditional farmers understood generations before synthetic fertilizer existed, and that modern soil science has now confirmed with hard data. Today I'm walking you through exactly those 3 steps, in the exact order they need to happen, backed by real agricultural research, not garden folklore. Follow this correctly, and you're not just improving your harvest a little, you're setting up conditions that university trials have documented can multiply yields by a factor most people wouldn't believe until they see it themselves. The single biggest mistake home gardeners make is treating fertilizer as plant food, when the actual first move should be treating organic matter as food for the billions of microorganisms living in the soil itself. A landmark study conducted by researchers at Rothamsted Research in the United Kingdom, one of the oldest agricultural research institutions in the world, has tracked continuous wheat plots since 1843. And the data consistently shows that plots receiving regular organic matter additions maintained significantly higher yields over 180 years compared to plots relying purely on synthetic inputs, even when both received equivalent nitrogen. Here's why. A single teaspoon of healthy soil can contain up to 1 billion bacteria, several yards of fungal hyphae, and thousands of protozoa, according to soil biology research from Dr. Elaine Ingham, former director of soil microbiology research at Oregon State University. Those organisms are the ones actually breaking down nutrients into forms your plants can absorb. Feed them well, and they multiply exponentially, creating an underground factory that continuously delivers nitrogen, phosphorus, and trace minerals directly to root zones. The practical application is straightforward. Before planting, work 2 to 3 inches of finished compost into your top 6 inches of soil, and if you have access to it, add aged manure at a ratio of about 20 pounds per 100 square feet. If you don't have compost on hand, well-shredded fall leaves, coffee grounds from your kitchen, or grass clippings layered and left to break down for even a few weeks make a legitimate substitute. The goal here isn't just adding nutrients directly, it's igniting a biological engine that will keep producing nutrients throughout the entire growing season, long after a bag of synthetic fertilizer would have washed away. Once the biology is activated, the second step addresses something most home gardeners never think to check: soil pH and mineral balance. Research from Cornell University's Cooperative Extension Soil Health Program has documented that even soil rich in organic matter can leave plants malnourished if the pH falls outside the 6.0 to 7.0 range most vegetables require for optimal nutrient uptake. Here's the mechanism most people don't understand. Nutrients like phosphorus and iron might be physically present in your soil in large quantities, but if the pH is too acidic or too alkaline, those nutrients become chemically locked in forms plant roots simply cannot absorb, a phenomenon soil scientists call nutrient lockout. You could have technically fertile soil that behaves like poor soil simply because the chemistry is wrong. Testing your soil is genuinely the cheapest insurance policy available to any gardener, and most state agricultural extension offices, including those affiliated with land-grant universities across the country, offer soil testing for under $20 that will tell you your exact pH and mineral levels. If your test comes back too acidic, below 6.0, working in agricultural lime at the rate recommended on your specific test results, typically 5 to 10 pounds per 100 square feet for moderate corrections, brings pH into range over several weeks. If your soil runs too alkaline, above 7.5, elemental sulfur or aged pine needle mulch worked into the topsoil gradually lowers pH. Beyond pH, adding rock dust like azomite or glacial rock dust reintroduces trace minerals such as boron, zinc, and manganese that decades of conventional farming or repeated harvests without replenishment often strip from soil minerals plants need in small quantities but cannot function properly without. The third and final step is the one most gardeners have genuinely never heard of, despite decades of published research supporting it: inoculating your soil with mycorrhizal fungi. These are naturally occurring fungi that form symbiotic relationships with plant roots, and research published in the journal Mycorrhizal and by scientists including Dr. Mark Brundrett, whose work has been widely cited in botanical research reviews, has documented that roughly 80 to 90% of all land plant species naturally form these fungal partnerships in undisturbed ecosystems. Here's what makes this partnership so powerful. Mycorrhizal fungi extend microscopic threads called hyphae far beyond what a plant's own root system could ever reach, sometimes effectively increasing the root's absorptive surface area by 100 to 1,000 times according to multiple university extension sources, including research summarized by the University of Minnesota Extension. In exchange for sugars the plant produces through photosynthesis, these fungi deliver phosphorus, water, and micronutrients from soil areas the plant could never access on its own. The problem is that conventional tilling, synthetic fertilizer overuse, and soil disturbance from repeated construction, or heavy cultivation, destroys these fungal networks, which is why so many suburban and urban garden soils are essentially operating without this critical partnership at all. Reintroducing them is simple and inexpensive. Commercial mycorrhizal inoculant, widely available as a powder or granular product at garden centers, gets applied directly to root balls or seed rows at planting time, following the application rate printed on the product, typically just a small pinch directly touching roots during transplanting. The fungi need direct root contact to establish the relationship, so timing this at the moment of planting, rather than sprinkling it on established soil, later produces dramatically better results. Once established, this fungal network persists in undisturbed soil for years, meaning this is genuinely a one-time investment that compounds season after season, as long as you avoid excessive tilling going forward. Numbers like a tenfold yield increase sound like marketing exaggeration, until you look at the actual documented conditions where they occur, and understanding the real mechanism matters more than chasing the number itself. Research conducted through long-term trials at the Rodale Institute, comparing organic systems, the exact soil biology principles described here against conventional systems, has documented that well-managed organic soil systems can match or exceed conventional yields while using significantly less water and showing dramatically higher resilience during drought years, sometimes maintaining yields when conventional plots fail almost completely. That resilience factor is where the truly dramatic multiplication happens, not necessarily in a perfect growing season where both approaches might perform similarly, but specifically during stress conditions, drought, poor weather, pest pressure, where biological soil supporting strong root systems and active mycorrhizal networks continues producing while nutrient-locked, biologically empty soil simply collapses. A garden bed with active soil biology, corrected mineral balance, and established fungal partnerships doesn't just grow bigger plants in ideal conditions, it grows plants that survive and continue producing when difficult, which is exactly when the yield gap between prepared soil and neglected soil becomes most dramatic. This is the compounding effect that traditional farmers who rotated crops, added manure religiously, and never tilled more than necessary understood intuitively for centuries before anyone could explain the biology behind why it worked so well. The order genuinely matters here, and skipping steps or doing them out of sequence significantly reduces the results you'll see. Start 4 to 6 weeks before your planting date if possible, working in your compost and organic matter first to give soil biology time to activate, and begin breaking down that material. Around 2 weeks later, once you've received your soil test results, make your pH and mineral corrections, since lime and sulfur need time to react with soil chemistry before planting, rather than being applied the same day you put seeds in the ground. Finally, at the actual moment of planting or transplanting, apply your mycorrhizal inoculant directly to root contact points, ensuring the fungal partnership begins forming from day one, rather than being introduced to already growing plants where establishment becomes considerably harder. If you're starting mid-season and don't have 6 weeks to spare, Doing all three steps together still produces meaningfully better results than doing nothing, though the biological activation benefits most from lead time. Track what happens in a small test bed first if you're skeptical, comparing it against your normal method in an adjacent bed with similar sun exposure, and let the soil itself demonstrate what decades of agricultural research have already confirmed. The plants growing in soil that's biologically alive, chemically balanced, and fungally connected aren't performing magic. They're simply operating the way soil was designed to function before modern agriculture stripped most of these natural processes away in favor of quick fixes. If this changed how you think about what happens underground before anything ever sprouts, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment telling me which of these three steps you're starting with, and share this with someone still wondering why their garden struggles every single summer.